Welcome to the state of Ohio. I'm Karen Kasler, this week with Governor Mike DeWine. Governor, thank you for being here.
Karen,
I appreciate it.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
So as we go into Christmas, you have not announced your decision on House Bill 68, which would ban gender transition treatment for minors and ban trans athletes for girls' sports. I'd love to know whether you're going to sign it. I don't expect that you're going to tell me because you said you're still making that decision. But I want to ask you, what are some of the factors involved in what you're considering here?
Well, I think this is a very important decision. We're dealing with a very small number of minors, children, and each one of them is going through a challenging, certainly a very, very challenging time, and challenging for the family. So I think it's very, very important, even though it's a small number of our kids in the state of Ohio. So what I'm doing is, I think what you'd expect me to do, and that is trying to find out what the facts are. I spent a part of a day at Akron Children's Hospital talking to the people who are directly involved in this program. I did the same thing at the University of Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and I did it at Nationwide Children's Hospital here in Columbus. So it's 3 different days I did that. I'm also talking, frankly, to people who testified in favor of the bill. I talked this morning to a woman who came in and testified in favor of the bill. I'm talking to, medical doctors. I'm talking to anybody that I can find that I think, would help me better understand exactly what we are dealing with here. But so I'm going to continue to do that. I've not made a decision as we record this. I'm going to continue to read. I've got a binder to go through of some of the testimony and other things. So, but next week, when the time is appropriate, I will make a decision. I'll do a press conference and I'll explain, what I'm doing and why.
You had said in your first inaugural address in 2019 that you want to be the governor for all the people of our state. If you sign this bill, there are going to be people, trans kids, their parents, who are not going to feel that you are caring about them. What do you say to them?
Well, I think, again, I'm listening to people. I've met with some of the families of people, young kids who are in this, going through this right now, working with one of the children's hospitals, the doctors who are there. I've also talked to families where they were not happy with what happened. And the experience that their child had. So I think my job is to get as much information as I can, try to sort that out, and come up with a decision that's a fair decision. But again, I'm taking a lot of time to do this. I was scheduled to start these series of interviews a few days ago, and I postponed that. I needed the days to actually travel around the state and go to the different children's hospitals and to talk to other people. So it's a very, very important thing in these young people's lives and in their families' lives. Look, there's nothing more important in your life than your children, and so I think this has to be approached with, very, very great deal of seriousness.
I want to ask you about issue 2, the law on recreational marijuana that voters approved. You urged lawmakers to pass changes to the law to allow marijuana to be sold at existing medical marijuana dispensaries, saying the law makes the product legal but not the selling of the product legal. You opposed issue 2. What's the problem with not having places to buy marijuana? I would think that you and other people who opposed issue 2 would be okay with that.
Well, look, I still think it's a bad idea. I voted against it. I talked against it. But 57%, I think, of the people in the state of Ohio said, no, we want legal marijuana, recreational marijuana in the state of Ohio. We have to respect that. But I don't think the people who voted for this intended to have the situation that we have today. It's a ridiculous situation. Today, you can possess marijuana, you can use marijuana legally in the state of Ohio, and you can grow marijuana legally in the state of Ohio. But you can't buy the seeds to grow marijuana legally, and you can't buy marijuana legally in the state of Ohio. Now, that's stupid. Now, why should I worry about that, as you say, as someone who was against this? Because what is going to grow up, and we're already starting to see signs of it, is a black market where people think it's legal, very understandably. People think it's legal to go buy it in the state of Ohio. But we know that under the current law, without a change, we will not be able to see legal marijuana sold in the state of Ohio until late 2024. So it's almost a year away, probably. And so what will happen is we're already starting to see signs of a black market grow up. And if you look at New York State as a good example, what happened in New York State, they had this long period of time too where you couldn't buy it, but you could use it. Thousands of these shops popped up in shopping centers and little holes over here, and it was all illegal, and no one knew what the quality was. There was no way to control that, to measure it. You could have had pesticides in that marijuana. You could have had some other drug mixed in with that marijuana. So that's not a good situation at all. The other problem we have, and I've expressed this to the legislature, is what you're seeing sold today in filling stations, for example, gas stations around the state and other places, is a hemp derivative that is Delta 8, Delta 9, which is highly hallucinogenic. And there's a big gap in the hole in the law today. We can't regulate that legally in Ohio today. We must be able to regulate it. And so in addition to this problem with marijuana, I've asked them to help me be able to regulate that, but we have to have a change in the law. We have kids walking in there, 12, 14, 15 years of age, who legally can buy this junk today, and they take it and they get high on it. A 16-year-old, 17-year-old who's got a driver's license, or a 40-year-old who's got a driver's license, can go in, buy the stuff, take it, and then drive away. And we have more wrecks out on the highway. So there ought to be a sense, I think, of urgency about let's fix these problems.
I want to ask you about the two issue ones that we had, the issue one in August and the issue one in November. The issue one in August was the requirement of 60% voter approval for future constitutional amendments. You and other Republicans had supported it, saying it's too easy to amend the Constitution and the Constitution needs to be protected. So I want to ask you, should lawmakers try to raise that voter approval again to protect the Constitution? Should that be something that comes forward next year?
I think the vote was overwhelming in regard to that. I do not anticipate, changing the law in regard to a referendum from 50% needed to 60%. I don't think that's going to come back up again.
In issue one in November was the Reproductive Rights and Abortion Access Amendment. You were strongly opposed, and you had suggested for more than a year that the legislature should make some changes to the existing so-called heartbeat ban, the 6-week abortion ban, to try to get something that was more sustainable, that voters might appreciate more. Are you disappointed that there were no changes made and that this went forward?
Well, I don't like to look back. I mean, I expressed my concerns about that, and I was not, they didn't listen to me on that, so we are where we are.
You have advocated against abortion your entire political career. In your term as governor, the state passed one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country, and then issue one, the Abortion Rights Amendment, also passed in your term as governor. And that reverts the ban back to viability, essentially. What do you think how do you feel about this when it comes to your legacy and people looking back at your time as governor with this?
I think it's important for us to protect the most vulnerable among us. One of the things I'm very proud of is what we have done in regard to women who are poor, women who, for whatever reason, can't get medical access and they're pregnant. We've dramatically increased the ability to get good care. We're going to not only continue to do that, but we're going to speed that up and do even more. I think it's important for us to be as compassionate as we can, and to, again, women who are in a difficult situation. The law is today, they can certainly make a decision about to have an abortion. That's what was passed by the voters. But I think, those of us who feel strongly about this, we have to continue to look around and say, what else can we do to assist them? they'll make the choice, but what can we do to assist them to make it easier for them to be able to have the child, and not just have the child, but be able to raise that child. One of the things that I don't think we've done enough in, candidly, has to do with child care. We need to do more in this area. It's important, I think, for these families to be able to raise their children, get the help they need. If the mom wants to work, the dad wants to work, both of them want to work, whatever their situation is, they need good child care. So it's important to have more people to work, but it's also important that child get good stimulation and good daycare, because that's going to impact how they start kindergarten. And as Fran and I have traveled around the state and seen a lot of kindergartens, a lot of first grade, second grade, as we looked at this whole issue of the science of reading. One of the things that was pointed out to us almost every place was that if you want the child to be ready to start kindergarten, having good daycare is one of the component parts that's important.
You've been outspoken against flavored tobacco and vapes, and twice have vetoed Republican state lawmakers' efforts to stop communities from being able to ban flavored tobacco and vapes. Your veto in that budget was just overridden by the House. Speaker Jason Stephens says he wants to look at this as more of a statewide level. You've suggested a statewide ban. Why isn't this moving forward? And do you support home rule for this, but maybe not for other things?
Well, I think if you look at my position on home rule, I think it's a case-by-case situation. I mean, I think that the preference always should be for home rule, but there are some areas where, because of the issue, because of the circumstances, having a statewide uniformity makes sense. I think the most important thing we have in this discussion, though, is making sure that young people do not become addicted to nicotine. We've seen, Karen, a huge change. Great news. We got fewer kids today who are smoking, cigarettes, going down significantly. At the same time, the number of kids who are vaping with flavors, and it's almost always with flavors, and getting addicted to nicotine has gone up dramatically. Talk to any high school teacher, talk to any junior high teacher, and they'll tell you about the problems they're having. And it's not just a school problem. This kid is becoming addicted to something that's highly addictive, and that is nicotine. And one of two things are probably going to happen. They're either going to stay on vaping, which we know long-term is